Resident Evil 4 has its fair share of difficult achievements, but in this game when you complete a certain challenge, you're rewarded with an item that will make the game much easier. This means that when I go for my S+ run on Professional, the game's hardest difficulty, I would have access to the chicken hat. This cosmetic significantly reduces the damage you take from all attacks, which would be quite helpful. Since this would be available right from the start of the DLC, this would be a lot easier. But what happens if you had none of that? Just Ada and her heals? Well, that's exactly what I decided to do. I kinda went into this without any kind of plan. I randomly decided one day on stream that I should get this achievement today, because surely I can get this done in just a few hours. Now in order to get S+, there are a few rules. Rule 1, you have to finish the DLC in under 2.5 hours. Rule 2, you have a maximum of 10 saves, and lastly you have to be on a fresh playthrough, which means no new game plus. 10 saves probably sounds like a lot, which it's definitely a high number, but some of these chapters can be quite long, so if you were to save at the start of a chapter and die near the end, well you would have to restart all the way to the start, so sometimes it was better to save more than once for certain chapters. If you die, you also have to make sure you leave to the main menu, so it will reset the timer or else you won't if you just click continue. I don't intend on dying, so this doesn't really concern me, so with all that being said, I feel like I should give a little bit of context that sets up this incredibly messed up situation. This journey begins with the main character Ada Wong. In 2004, Ada was employed by Albert Wesker, and was sent to retrieve a sample of something called the amber somewhere in the mountainous regions of Spain. She manages to reach out to someone named Luis Serra, who was one of the researchers that was part of the Los Illuminados cult that discovered the amber. In exchange for the amber, Ada would rescue Luis and get him out of this hell. He was infected with Las Plagas, but before he is fully taken under its control, he managed to remove it and hid the amber just before he was captured and brought to Salazar's castle, where he is said to be tortured and killed. This is where I take over and the professional adventure really begins. After Ada saves Luis from death, we are confronted by some zealots and this guy named Pasanta. 1 minute in and we already have a boss fight. I send Luis away and we say we'll meet up at the church after I deal with this guy. He launches his attacks and hits Ada in the shoulder. This probably won't be an issue later. Now this fight wasn't too bad. I had ammo, a grenade, and a flash grenade. The problem is he can summon clones, so I now have to avoid getting hit by all these clones while also figuring out which one is the real one, and kill it. If you throw down a flash grenade, it will actually reveal the real one, so this helps out quite a bit, but if you can't kill him before he summons more, you're gonna have the same issue. So after dying one time, I finally put him down. Moving on, which brings us outside of the castle, it's pretty easy to run past everyone here, but there is also a rifle in this section which would be necessary for later. The problem is I didn't remember exactly where it was. I knew the general location, but even then I couldn't find it. So after running through the castle roofs trying to find this rifle, I get unlucky and get killed by this catapult. This brought me all the way back to the start of the game and I had to fight Pasanta once again. With my experience from the first 2 attempts, I was able to get it done much easier. Moving back outside of the castle, still running past everyone, I find the rifle I was looking for earlier, and as I said earlier, this would be necessary for later on. I continued to run past everything, not wasting a single bullet, zipline or whatever this is called, up to the top and finish off this chapter. This is where I used my first save of the run. After escaping the castle, Ada updates Wesker on the situation. Afterwards, we continue making our way to the church to meet Luis. In this video, you would notice that there will be a lot of me just running around enemies. That's because I'm afraid for my life. This part wasn't bad. For the most part, I was able to run around everyone. This looked like just a big enough gap for me to squeeze through unharmed. I was wrong and got touched. So I broke his back and continued running. At this point, I've already gone through so many heals, which is not a good thing at all. I'm able to continue running through this village section, silently killing enemies and making some pretty good progress. That is until I get to yet another gate. And once again, for some reason I thought I could just run right past, but I was of course wrong once again. This forces me to use my last heal. Everything should be fine now, right? Running across this bridge, you have this big guy there and this one with the crossbow. It's pretty easy to avoid. Just keep running. Please move. So he's not gonna move. He's not gonna move. In fact, he's gonna put his hammer so far up my ass that I die. So instead of safely making my way through, I got shot with an arrow that pushed me back into the big guy and he proceeded to give me back shots, killing me in the process, setting me all the way back to start of chapter 2, which thankfully I only lost like 6 minutes of progress. And for some reason, I decided to save right after I passed this section, which was a stupid idea. That save would have been so much more helpful later on. Finally arriving at the church, but Luis isn't here. Ada goes up to the top of the bell tower and notices Leon down in the village square fighting off the infected. So Ada, being the kind person she is, rings the bell to remind everyone it's time for bingo. With Luis missing, I have to go search for him again. Going through the store, I met my man, the merchant. I decided to upgrade my rifle first and buy a first aid spray. Now that I'm in the village square by myself, Ada starts hallucinating, then this guy shows up again. He just can't get enough of me. This entire fight went pretty smooth compared to what happens later on. I was able to barely get it done on my first try. Sure, I did use every single one of my heals, but hey, at least I don't have to restart 20 minutes back. Luckily, there weren't any more enemies after this fight, or else I definitely would have died. Make my way over to this house where I find Leon getting choked by Menendez. I save him for the second time and go to the top of the roof to hide and wait for them to leave. Chapter 1 and 2 overall went by pretty smoothly, but I can't say the same for every single chapter after this. Chapter 3 was the real start of the pain and suffering that I would go through for this achievement. Inside Menendez's house after Leon has left, I grab the key, open this drawer, and find out where Luis is gone. All I have to do is safely make my way there. Why does this guy like choking people so much? I now have to run away from this guy while also avoiding all of the enemies. At first I got lost, I lost all brain cells and forgot which way to go. Thankfully I was able to barely make it to the factory and only used one heal. Running down into the basement, I of course had to step into the one and only bear trap once again, alerting all the enemies inside the building with me. After using multiple heals and a lot of ammo, I was able to clear them out. Going further down into the basement, Ada starts having visions once again before they stop. I end up in the room where Leon and Luis were chained up, and find the cigarette box that had Luis's radio frequency on it. After talking with him, I have to run back up where I'm greeted by some lovely people who were throwing axes at me. You can run past everyone here as long as nothing goes wrong. Please don't run into that. Yeah, that sucked. This sent me all the way back to the start of the chapter, so I quickly do everything again, grab the key, this chicken egg, find out where Luis went, and ran from Menendez. The first time I tried this, I killed a chicken, but I didn't this time, so what it decided to do was attack me. Did the chicken just attack me? This almost got me killed. I should have just put it down. This next attempt went a lot smoother. I was able to avoid the bear trap this time and stealth kill all the enemies. I remember that I could have just gone to the store instead of going the long way, and if you throw a flash grenade or a grenade, you can turn this valve on just in time before the chainsaw sister kills you. I ran out of this building before Ada got a headache and passed out. Waking back up in Menendez's house, learning that Wesker was there and saved me. What a nice man. Running back to the village and running past everyone, until I get to this bridge and the ground starts shaking. Maybe it's an earthquake or something, or maybe it's this fat ass. Killing this guy is pretty simple. Shoot, switch to the other rooftop, and repeat. Everything is going kind of well, until he destroys the building I'm on. So I ran to this corner not realizing I could grapple up to the roof and get caught by some of the villagers, killing me and bringing me all the way back to the start of the chapter. It takes me an extra 20 minutes and 1 death to finally get back to this section, but before I ran across this bridge, I decided to save here as I didn't want to spend another hour in this chapter if I were to fail again. Unfortunately, every single enemy here wanted a taste of me, so I used quite a bit of ammo and heals here. Back at the boss fight again, doing absolutely everything I can to not die. This is the one. I'm resetting. I lied. Thankfully, the third time I was able to defeat him. After using all my heals and almost every bullet and missing most of my shots, the fat ass finally falls, causing yet another earthquake. Ada, being the badass she is, goes over to finish off the parasite. I wish she would step on me like that. Meeting up with Luis again, he says he doesn't have the amber right now and there's something else he needs to get first. Now on to the chapter that caused a lot of problems, Chapter 4. This chapter was truly awful. It took me almost 3 hours to get past it. Luis and Ada arrive at the castle. When Basenta first attacked Ada at the beginning of the game, it infected her with the parasite. This is what's causing all the hallucinations. Luis informs Ada of another objective that he promised to Leon. She isn't a fan of that, but he promises to slow her infection down and cure her. Suddenly, they discover that the lab is on fire, so Luis runs to the fire and I have to chase after him. The suppressant that he promised Leon has been destroyed, and Ada suggests that you can just make more. Conveniently, all the ingredients we need are right here in this castle. It needs red ink for some reason, this gold bottle, and the blue butterfly. Pretty simple, right? So they go their separate ways, and I now have to find all the ingredients. It's important to note that I saved right at the start of this chapter. Before I could get the first ingredient, I had to take out a few enemies, which was pretty easy as I could just sneak up on them. So after I move these stones around, shoot these 3 shields, I get the red ink. Not long after, Leon shows up and they have a very friendly talk. Moving on, I come across a store that requires a lantern. So shooting more of these metal things and opening the doors, I pick up the lantern before I'm rudely interrupted by this huge drilling thing. All the doors shut on me, so I had a limited time to get out of here, but I was able to get out untouched. Going further into the castle, I have to get the gold bottle first, but I need a silver one to get into the room with the gold bottle, so I pick it up and all the lights turn off and 2 knights wake up as well. I thought if I placed the bottle down quick enough, ran through the door, and then picked it up again, I would be fine. But I was wrong. I got hit and had to use a heal, but hey, at least I got through. I spent an extra minute in this room preparing, reloading, crafting, and picking up all the resources I may need. After I finally gain enough courage, I pick up the bottle. Then the knights await, causing a whole lot of issues. It wasn't going too bad at first. I took down a few. It was going great until the enemies outside showed up with their crossbows. I didn't have very many heals to begin with, so when I get hit with an arrow and it pushed me into a knight who proceeded to smash my head in with his sword, I had to use all of my heals. I swear these guys had more health than the knights. They would not die no matter how many bullets I put into their head. I was still able to take out most of them until I for some reason went beyond here and accidentally opened this box and picked up the treasure. I tried to melee the knight I just knocked down, but that didn't work, so I was forced to run out to avoid the other one coming in. There weren't any heals in my inventory, so I had to hope God was on my side, and he wasn't. I wasn't expecting to get this part done on my first try anyways, but it was still very annoying. Problem is, I saved at the start of the chapter. This means I would have to do the stone puzzle, get the lantern, and get back to the room with the knights, which takes around 8 minutes each time. The following attempts went even worse. I wasn't able to make nearly as much progress as I did the first time, so I decided to try something else. Instead of breaking all the vases and getting the loot from them before I picked up the bottle, I thought it would be better to wait until I needed heals. That way when I was low I could break them and get heals. Heals were the biggest issue here, so this should fix it. Yet that didn't help either. So after an hour of trying, I got off for the night and picked it back up the next day. I didn't have much luck here either. All I could do was keep trying, doing the same thing I did the other 5 times. And after yet another hour, I finally killed the last night. So after more than 2 hours worth of attempts, 8 deaths, I can finally leave this room. The first thing I did was save. I was not willing to do that again. All I need now is a blue butterfly. Next up is a maze. This part is pretty simple. Kill this guy, pick up the piece needed to open the door, and done. The problem is if you don't kill him quick enough, he runs away. And he must be the Flash or something, because I was chasing him for at least a minute sometimes, and I still didn't catch up. I did die here, but luckily I saved right before, so I wouldn't be set too far back. After successfully killing him, I pick up the piece needed for the door and I continue. These enemies you can run right past, but for some reason I wanted to loot here which gets me killed, sending me all the way back to the start of the maze, but I was able to get it done much easier and quicker this time. On the roof, Wesker calls Ada and they have a lovely conversation.
As long as you can keep your dog under control.
He's a good boy. Predictable.
I wish she would call me one. Anyways, moving on, finally getting to the room with the blue butterfly after spending nearly 3 hours in this chapter, I meet back up with Louise and you make secure. If they had waited any longer, it might have been too late for her. I really wanted to save at the end of the chapter, but I figured I could wait a little bit longer. Santa showed up once again, but I hid behind this wall and his dumbass couldn't find me and he left. After this, I used my high piece to track down where Louise went, clearing out these enemies swiftly, then rappelling down to this deep dungeon, because why not? In order to progress, I had to drain the water. Pretty simple. I tried to run past the enemies, but that didn't work, so I took them out one by one. After I went to these tunnels where the water was to continue my journey. As I'm walking, I unfortunately take a few hits from these bugs, which forces me to use a heal and some ammo. The next room was quite a challenge, but not anywhere near as bad as the Knight's room. 2 Gyarados chained up. This should be fun. While you're fighting them, other enemies spawn in uninvited. If it was just the Gyarados, this wouldn't be bad, but because you also have to avoid the other enemies, it causes some issues. My first attempt went pretty well, but in the end I was eviscerated by one of them. The worst part was that the last time I saved was right after I beat the Knights. This means I had to go through the whole maze section again, get the blue butterfly, drain the water, and finally get back to this room. Luckily, I was able to do it first try. This time, I decided to use another save. This was a great idea. After multiple deaths, I was able to put them down. This last attempt used most of my ammo and all of my heals. Going up this elevator, meeting the merchant once again, selling everything I didn't need, buying another first aid spray, and upgrading some weapons. Next up is the final phase of Placenta. He, for some reason, takes off all of his clothes. Odd thing to do. His attacks for the most part are pretty easy to avoid. These little things he shoots on the ground did cause some issues, but overall weren't bad. His first phase used almost every single bullet I had, but even with all that I was still able to get this phase done on the first try. Now onto the second phase, which was also easy. The problem is I didn't have any more heals and very little ammo, causing my wife to die a horrible death. This of course sent me all the way back to before the Gyarados fight. After dying one extra time on the Gyarados, I get back and put Placenta down once and for all. This fight wasn't that hard, he was just a bullet sponge, and I was able to just barely defeat him. The first thing I did after this fight is save. I did not want to deal with either of those locations again. Next up is going through the tunnels filled with enemies. Shouldn't be too hard, but I suck at this game if you haven't noticed. It takes me multiple attempts to get it right and not get crushed by these boulders. After finally making my way out, I run past everyone just praying I wouldn't get hit. On top of the roof looking down, I see Leon fighting Salazar. I hope he has fun with that. I'm gonna go the other way. The next objective is to go after Krauser. I'm not sure why every Resident Evil game has to have a long elevator ride, but it's very common. I continue to run past all the enemies hoping everything will be fine until I get to the boat and head to the island with Leon. These two have such a lovely chat. I wish they would just kiss and get together. Can't always get what you want, unfortunately. After rappelling onto yet another roof overlooking Krauser handing the amber to Sadler, Wesker sneaks up with a gun to her head. He says there's been a change of plans. Ada will do it, but it will cost extra. Onto the final 2 chapters. After almost 8 hours, I can almost see the finish line. Everything here is pretty simple, just run past everyone and try not to get cornered. It worked out pretty well until I got to this elevator and had to use a good amount of ammo to take them all out. Better than dying. This area with the bulldozer has a lot of enemies and a big guy. Once again, I put my running shoes on and ran past. After stunning the big guy, you can completely avoid him, but for some reason I went for these barrels. Bad idea. It gave the other enemies enough time to get to me, killing me. The next attempt went a lot better, and I made it past them all after only using a few shotgun shells. Every enemy you can just run right past, including the regenerators. I grabbed the piece needed to power the door, and I head down to the gondola killing the enemies before they have a chance to shoot me. Now on to what might be worse in the night section. All I have to do is hide behind these metal pieces to avoid the lasers, jump up to the sledge, then cross this bridge. Now there is a speedrun strat to skip this entire section. If you do it right, you can cross the bridge immediately, but I didn't do that. Why, you might ask? I don't really know. I knew about the strat, I just didn't know how to do it, so instead of simply looking up how to do it, I proceeded to spend the next hour and a half dying over and over. The furthest I made it is to the top of the bridge. Because of the amount of enemies that would spawn in, I would have to use so much ammo, grenades, and heals. By the time I got to the big guy, I barely had anything left. I tried everything, trying to get the guys with dynamite to blow up their friends. Instead, they turned Ada into a puddle. Where did you come? Nor did I see. Where did I go? I am gone. I didn't even know that could happen. After over an hour and a half of dying over and over to something ridiculous, I finally looked up how to do the speedrun strat. I should have just done that from the start. All you need is an enemy and 2 explosive bolts. Shoot this guy with an arrow so you won't get shot by that turret, then stand right next to the other laser on the bridge, wait for an enemy to get close, then shoot another arrow on his right side. This should push the enemy across the laser, baiting the turret to shoot his body instead of you, allowing you to run past unharmed. This worked on the first try. It was that simple. Continuing into this underground lab, barely avoiding the lasers. It's important to remember that I used my 10th save in the previous chapter, which means I had to survive until the end or else I would be brought back to the previous section. And I really did not want that. We learned what Wesker's plan was. That was to blow up the entire island. But something else is also in this lab with us. This rat-looking thing, I'm not really sure exactly what it is. You don't have to do anything here other than run from it. Just make sure you go the right way, as I almost got caught here. On the way out, avoiding even more lasers. Ada is just so cool. I really hope one day she gets her own game. Now that I finally made it to the end, there are a few more enemies I have to get through. It took a bit of time to take them all out and a lot of ammo, but I was still able to do it. Stopping at the merchant one last time. Here I make a risky choice. At this point in the run I was just under 2 hours and 10 minutes, meaning I had 20 minutes or outside at the restart to still get S+. And I wasn't sure how long this boss fight would take, or how much more I had left in the game. So I had 2 options. I either fight Sadler the normal way with the weapons I had, or I sell everything I had but the shotgun and heals and buy a rocket launcher. I knew it was risky as there were still a few more enemies I would have to take out after this boss, but I still thought the rocket launcher was the best choice, and I was right, taking out Sadler immediately and moving on to the final section of the game. Everything was going well, running past all of the enemies, throwing a flash grenade to stun these guys to run right past. This seemed like the run, until I got to this room. I got lost and tried killing this guy. Not knowing which way to go and giving the other enemies time to catch up was a bad mistake. I tried shooting this mine with my shotgun, but both shots somehow missed. But because I sold everything else to buy that rocket launcher, I only had that shotgun. And with the last few bullets I had to take out the enemies sneaking up on me. I killed them, which left me with not one shotgun shell. All I had now was a flash grenade, so I threw that hoping it would detonate the mine. It didn't work. The only choice I had was to walk through and hope I would survive, which I did and luckily got some heals right after, but no ammo. Running past the other enemies and this big guy, Ada for some reason refused to jump over this barrier, causing me to get shot with an arrow. Jump over the fucking... Jump over! Oh my god, what are you doing, Ada? Ada, genuinely, what the fuck are you doing? She's just fucking jumping around. What the fuck is she doing? I hate Ada. I hate Ada. I hope they never make a Resident Evil game with Ada. She's the worst character of all time. After she finally jumps over, more problems show up. The door is locked. No matter how many times I tried to pull up my knife, it just wouldn't work. I tried to throw a flash grenade to stun him and give me some time to escape, but it was too late, and I died. This set me all the way back to this section. After one death in this area, I was able to make it back fairly quick. Now that I know about the locked door this time, I threw a flash grenade and broke the lock. I grabbed the rocket launcher for Leon and continued to this elevator. Everything was going perfectly. Sadler blocked the path with his tentacles or whatever the hell this is. Pretty easy to get rid of. Now you don't actually have to kill all the enemies here to use the elevator, you can run past them all. But only if you destroy this other tentacle first. And I didn't do it quickly enough. I tried to still use the elevator but got cornered and got kicked down by the big guy. It's not over yet. I still had some ammo and some heals. I was able to barely escape with my life after taking out most of the enemies. It was impossible for me to mess up now. After meeting up with Ashley, she says Leon needs help, but I'm on it. So I grapple up to this container, move it to the other side, and throw an explosive weapon on the ground like 100 feet up right at Leon's feet, somehow not exploding. He takes out Sadler, Ada takes the Amber, and leaves on her own in a helicopter. And I've played this before, so I didn't care to watch the rest of the cutscene. All I wanted to see was the S+. Show me what up. Oh my god. Thank you, God. Leon, I'm fucking you. And I got the achievements. Oh my god, I got the achievements. I got the achievements. I got the fucking achievements. I got the achievements. I got the achievements. I got the achievements. Ada, sit on my face, please. Oh my god. 2 hours and 13 minutes was the final time. Not too bad. So after 44 deaths and almost 9 hours worth of gameplay, I finally got Ada the S+ Spy achievement. Was it worth all the pain and suffering? Hell yes it was. I'm glad I was able to do this whole playthrough on stream and you could all see me suffer. It really was a lot of fun. I would actually really like to see Ada with her own game one day. She's too cool to not have her own. If you guys enjoyed this video, feel free to like and subscribe. If you want to see me do these horrible challenges live, the link to my Twitch will be linked in the description. As I'm uploading this, I'm doing my first ever grounded playthrough in The Last of Us Part 2, so feel free to drop by. I also plan on doing an S+ professional playthrough in the main story, so stick around for that.
He's a good boy. Predictable.
Call me a good
Fine.
boy, please.
Keep your mouth.
I'll do anything.
Or are you just trying to use me again?
I'd let her use me.
What do you think?
It's worth it. I don't know why Leon's complaining.
We're here. Don't think too hard, handsome. See you
Oh
later.
my god.
Story of my life.